Hello friends, today we're going to look at an Ogre replay from something I saw on Reddit. I like this one because you have a clear idea. I don't know if you're actually going to watch this, but I like this one because you have a clear idea of what you're trying to work on. You said focus on laning, itemization, and dying less. And I did notice that from the games you posted. You seem to die a lot. But you know you're working on it, and you know you're not quite there yet. And that's good. You have a good idea of what you're working on. So this is a Legend 3. Yeah, okay, so he's Legend 3, but this game is, about ancient level, and you're partied with your Faceless Void. We're going to focus on this first game, and we're just going to see how it goes. I might do the laning stage of, like, these 3 different games, or we'll just see how long this first game takes. Maybe we'll just do one game. I don't know yet. We're going to find out. I'm not sure what's happening right now. Might be checking the scoreboard or something. But, so first off, I highly recommend... You need to pass your mid these tangos so he can leave. So either do that right at the start or do it now. I don't know. Maybe you're having some kind of issue or something. I don't know. But sitting in lane like this, or sitting in the fountain is really bad because everyone loads in at 130. Well, technically, depending on how fast your computer loads. Maybe it's not quite 130. But that's when the game technically starts. And you want to leave fountain as fast as possible. So right now we're sitting here still. In fact, out of curiosity, the reason we need to leave as quickly as possible is because we try to get to the lane to ward. And, if we're sitting here longer, we're just giving them more time. Fortunately, they're also quite slow out the gate. But I highly recommend to everyone to try to get out as quickly as you can. So for your starting items, do you only give him 1 tango, or did he get some from Mirana? I guess he got some from Mirana. He has a little too many now. Invoker only needs 2. Because he's going to go Quas. Well, whatever. That's not your problem. So, for your starting items...
30 seconds to showtime.
Disclaimer. I don't play a ton of Ogre, but I think I still understand the hero for the most part. And I don't feel like this is what you want this game. Okay, look at you. You're 7 armor, 57 damage, fairly tanky, and you have solid... health regen. You have a little extra from these enchanted mangoes, but even without them, you have really good health regen. You're against Axe and Pudge. Pudge, he's got a bit more health than you, but he has no armor. He has slightly more damage, but 0 armor. And his spells, like, this is technically a nuke if he hits it, right? If you're trading in melee and he uses this, but it's, like, really not that good. And it's such a long cooldown, and if he ever misses it, then he essentially doesn't have a spell. Plus, he's starting boots, which means he has no regen whatsoever. I mean, you don't know that. You don't know that he's starting boots. But nothing Pudge could buy at the start of the game would make him stronger than an Ogre, in my opinion. And so I think for your starting items, you could have actually gone for an Orb of Venom, which would be a little greedy, but I think you could do it. I also think Windlace might have been okay to run around and chase people a little better. It's less aggressive than an Orb of Venom, but it has more long-term potential. Whereas you're likely to sell an Orb of Venom before the game gets too far in because you just need the slots. But yeah, I think you could have gone an Orb of Venom. I would have liked... Actually, usually I say you need a ward against a Pudge. Because think of it this way. If he doesn't hook anyone, he's not going to do anything in the lane. So if you have a ward like right here, Pudge always like stands in this area to hook people in lane. And so if he's not there, that's not going to happen. Now, he's actually bottom. I don't know if they're going to try lane. I don't know if they should. That might actually change the whole game. What we think about it. But I would have expected Pudge to be up here. And I think an Orb of Venom would have punished that and help you punish Axe early. Because once Axe hits like level 3 and starts cutting the wave, I don't think you can do anything. Cutting the wave is harder now for Axe than it used to be. But still, I think he can do it. And... see, you don't really need 2 more armor. You're already at 7. Axe is pure damage and magic damage. He'll right-click you a couple times, but if Axe kills you, it's from his W and from his Helix. And neither of those are addressed by Ring of Protection. Okay. Just keep hitting him. Right here. If he's by himself, because you saw Pudge bottom and he still hasn't shown, you're already there. I think you just keep hitting him. Pudge, also quite weak. Just hit him. Look how much damage you do. You don't care. You got all this regen. Especially because you only had to give Invoker 1 tango. I would just constantly fight Pudge. So Void should not die in this lane. Your friend should just not die. As long as he uses Q responsibly, how does he ever die? Pudge, usually the way Pudge kills people in lane is he hooks them, traps them in these trees usually, right? He like stands here, hooks someone, and they can't get out here. And then the offlaner like was already standing here, the hook comes out, and then they both kill him. If he hooks Void, Void just Qs away, removes the damage, and is not trapped. So Pudge is no longer concerned. If Pudge ever gets on top of him and slows, you Q away, you dodge the hook. And besides, Pudge just should not get right on top of you. Axe also does damage slowly over time, but because of that, you just keep healing and you just shouldn't die. Pretty much. That's how it goes. You are really tanky. You are susceptible to getting hooked and stuck, but like you're such a tanky hero and you're position 5 where it doesn't really matter. But honestly, if you had a ward here, you're just not going to get hooked, and then this guy's just not going to do anything. So all you want to do really is beat up Pudge, get him out of this lane, and let Void get a lot of XP. You're going to ditch this lane when Axe gets to about level 4, because you're just not going to be able to do anything. Once Axe starts to cut the wave, there's nothing an Ogre can really do because you're a melee hero, and your spells aren't that useful. So he just missed his hook. You should go on him for like 20 seconds. And what's happening? I was on your perspective, but we were like off the screen. How did that happen? Okay, there we go. Yeah, just chase this guy. And see, if you had an Orb of Venom, he doesn't get away from you. No, just bully him. This is what the Orb of Venom's for. You just keep fighting the entire time. And you have tangos. This guy has none. I don't know if you click them, but you should click and check their items to see what they have. They're getting like a lot of denies, and I don't feel like it shouldn't happen. Tango, this tree, and this tree. These 3 trees are really important for every support besides Treant Protector, and especially against a Pudge. You want to clear out a path with your tangos so that if you ever do get hooked over, you can just run right back to the tower. Instead of getting hooked, and then these trees block your way, and you have to run all the way around, that is how you die as a support against Pudge. But if these trees are all cut, then if he hooks you like here, you just run through, here, whatever, and it's like way safer. So it's really important to specifically target certain trees with your tangos. Yeah, let's just go from there. Ringer protection's in. So even with the tower and this ringer protection, you're now at 42% when you were at 30%. A lot of that's from the tower. When you get out of this tower... Uh-oh. See how you... This is actually exactly what I was talking about. You see how you get, like, stuck out here because you don't have a path? Let's go over this slow. First, this whole thing is avoided if you have a ward out here. Now, sometimes your team takes the wards and you don't get it, so that's not fully your fault. But if you had the choice, or you can even ask your teammate, like, hey, can we start with the ward because Pudge will be up here and I want to see him so we don't get hooked. If you have that, you're not going to get hooked. But also, because you are low and you should be aware that Pudge stands around here, you shouldn't be playing on this half of the trees because, I mean, if Pudge is right here, this is a very short hook. And it gives you literally no time to react because it'll come right out of the trees and hit you. And because they have creeps here, they can see you. So you should play on this half of the map because you know Pudge... Well, I mean, you know Pudge is over here, but even if he had been missing for a little bit, it's much less likely that he's over here. And if you're over here, like, he's definitely not back here. That would be really weird. Even if he hooks you there, I don't know how they go on you because Axe can't run there. But being over here is just like way riskier. So step 1, safer positioning. Especially, you have to identify who you're playing against. And in Pudge, you like rarely ever want to stand on this half. Like, you just mirror Pudge's movements. If he's over here, you stand over here. If he's over here, which is where he usually is, then you stand over here. And then, let's see. You never want to run straight lines against Pudge. But as soon as this happens, so you should W, you should tango this tree, and you should run through. You might have still died because you got hooked when you were pretty low and Axe like literally ran through. But yeah. And if I was Void with this Quelling Blade, he should just be cutting all these trees because the trees don't benefit your team. They benefit in this game, they benefit the enemy team. You know, if you have like a tree and protector on your team, or you have the Pudge or something like that, then you want the trees in the game. But in this case, Pudge is on their team, and you want to see that kind of thing so that he'll never hook you. Or if he does hook you, you can literally run through. I like that you warded here, so that's good. You know what you're looking for. You're going to de-ward this. That's also good. But to be clear, I don't think you should have ever... I don't think you even needed to get that low. I think you should have been tangoing sooner, and you keep trying to fight. The goal... Okay, this is how I would have wanted to play this lane. Axe versus Faceless Void is fine for the Faceless. Faceless should fine, perfectly fine against that. Pudge will always be standing over here, and then you're just going to come over here and bother the Pudge. And you're just going to bully Pudge out of the lane because he can't do anything. And once you successfully bully Pudge out, then it's a 1v2, and you can bully Axe out for a little bit until he's like 3 or 4. And at that point, you're like done with the lane. You're going to leave. And you're going to go in the off lane. Axe will like farm the wave up here. Okay, change that. If Axe comes over here, the lane is done because there's like nothing you can do. If Axe continues to play the lane like this, then you can stay top and keep doing things. But until that point, you want to push out Pudge. Not too far out. It depends where the lane. So like the lane is here. I wouldn't chase Pudge this far, but I would fight Pudge in this area here. Because once... like if you're all the way out here and you're fighting, then Axe can come around, and now this is kind of far to get back, and Pudge could hook you back, and then that's a recipe to die. But if you're over here fighting and Pudge backs away, then you're like, okay, whatever. And then you back off. And once Pudge walks up again, you go fight him. Because the 1v1 is fine, and you just don't want Pudge to interfere that with a hook or something. But having said that, like the hook doesn't really matter that much in this Faceless Void. So really what I want you to do is bully out Pudge. Once he's too low to do anything, then you just come pull. And this was blocked. So ideally you should have known sooner, I think. I wasn't... I don't know if I saw that either, so to be fair. But once you can get this pull camp open, you just want to pull a lot, because Axe... Like, if he's laning over here, he can't contest you. And if he comes over here, that's kind of what Axes do. And it's kind of expected. And then we're just going to let Faceless Void solo farm at that point. And then it's fine. Because Pudge as a laner needs to get kills. So if your lane is just farming, then it's okay. Oh, you're using it to get a Tranquils. So see, this is... I don't even care if you die here. This is, like, kind of okay. I wouldn't turn around to hit him. I would just keep running. But see, your Faceless Void is just farming alone right now. So this is fine. I think this was a little bit far. But I like the idea to prevent the pull. Let's go back to this, actually. So, you come over here to see if they're pulling. He is trying to pull. I think you just run straight to your tower, and I think you'll be okay. Because you are pretty healthy, and because... okay, if you run this way, he's going to try to hook you. But if Axe chases you as well, then you just like stand between him and Axe, and he doesn't do anything. Or you run this way so that Axe is always between you and Pudge. And if Axe wants to get out of the way of the hook, he has to step to the side, and then he's not chasing you. And at that point, you can see the hook coming, and you just sidestep it. Or Axe keeps attacking you, and then you can't be hooked. And you'll be attacked all the way back, but as long as you're not hooked, you're not going to die. Whereas running this way kind of seals your fate, because there is no safety this way. But interrupting the pull is generally good. So that was like 70% of the right thing to do to interrupt the pull, but then you just want to not... run in the right direction, and then you would have stopped the pull and survived. Okay. I don't know if you were communicating with your friend, but I have no idea what the lane looks like when you're pulling here. Yeah, this is an okay time to pull. I just want to double check. I actually really like half pulling, where you only pull like the last 2 creeps. And I think that can be really good against Axe, where you want some creeps up here to tank for you so that Axe can't dive your carry. But if you pull the entire wave, I don't hate it. It's fine. Oh, sorry. Let's get back to you. Okay. Missing a creep, but it's fine. As long as you know what you're supposed to do. So you do deny most of it. That's good. Keep an eye on what's going on over there. Okay. So see, at this point, if Pudge is gone, there's like nothing for you to do really. Okay, you kind of know that you're supposed to be here. Okay, here he is. Don't chase him, no need. So he's level 4, he's fine, you know? At this point, Faceless Void can't really die in this lane, and we just need to make sure he's farming okay. This is why if Axe starts cutting the wave, then Faceless Void will farm totally fine. But if Axe contests the wave and like plays in the lane, then we have to stay here. All good. That was pretty lucky, but things worked out for you. The Faithless goes back to farming. That. Oh yeah, they changed this box. I forgot. Okay. Good D ward though. A little scary. Alright. All's well. I don't like the Tranquil Rush. I'm sorry, the Recipe Soul Ring. Just because you do have decent health regen as Ogre, but the armor doesn't really do anything for you this game. And even though you have decent HP regen, like if you try to use the Soul Ring too much, I don't think it's going to work out. And so I would rather you just go like Tranquils first, because that helps you. First off, having move speed from the boots or the windlace would have helped you dodge hooks and to get away from Axe. But besides that, he just like slowly whittles you down with W's. And so getting Tranquils early, or like getting a windlace and a ring of health would have helped you a lot in the lane to dodge hooks, but to also have more health regen to sustain through this harass. Whereas I just don't think this like does much for you. The armor is not useful against these heroes, and a little bit more strength is like okay, but they're still gonna run you down and kill you. This guy's never gonna die. It's kind of why I feel like you don't even need to be here anymore at this point.
Dire's top tower's getting beat down.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like this very much. I think Tranquils are I think those would have been better. I think the stick's okay because Axe casts W quite a lot, but you're like really slow. And what am I saying here? It's at this point of the game where, remember, I think I said this earlier, where it's like, okay, Void can't really die, so you just need to get him to like level 3 or 4, and that's when Axe usually starts cutting, and then you can't do anything in the lane, so you leave. But you want to walk away from the lane, because if they dive Faceless Void, you want to be able to teleport in and help him. So you have to walk out, which means you want some kind of movement speed item so that you can leave top lane and like run all the way mid or all the way bottom. And that's what, like, that's the extra benefit of going like the Tranquils first. Whereas the Soul Ring, it doesn't really help you stay in the lane, because without enough health, I mean, you're just going to die. They are almost killing you from full health anyways when they focus you and you go out of position, you know? Because you're such a slow hero and you can't get away from them. Whereas if you had a bit more move speed, you could dodge a hook, or when you're getting slowed, you're still relatively faster, so you have a better chance at getting out. This Soul Ring doesn't really keep you alive in that regard. And it doesn't help you make your way bottom either. And, yeah, you can cast a couple more spells, but, like, a Clarity does the same thing, and it doesn't kill you. So, I think it's better to get the Tranquils first. Nice idea. Guarding the rune. I would want to go guard the bottom rune, because I want you to be in the bottom lane right now, so go position yourself. You had time. Instead of coming to this top one, go to the bottom one. Let Invoker come to the top one. Hey, regen, protecting it for Invoker. I guess when I gank top, I guess that's kind of okay, but this is a very difficult position to go in from. Ooh, yeah. Axe is not the guy for you guys to kill. I don't even need to replay it. Pretty much, Axe is like way too tanky for an Invoker to kill. Invoker does not have a ton of damage, and he needs people to help him to do that damage. You are not a high damage support, and Void is not at the point where he does a lot of damage either. And so trying to kill Axe when it's all the way out here, you know, Axe has to run like 5 feet into safety. 5 meters. This is Australia. 1.3 meters to to get back. And it's just like, it's just such a difficult kill. Whereas if you guys had gone bottom, I think that's way better. Or like, you don't even have to go anywhere if you don't see it. Just let Invoker keep laning and you run bottom. But I think this is really difficult to do. The reason, so the extra reason why going bottom would have been better, you guys tried to kill Axe and they rotated 4 up here, right? Which means there are 4 heroes top, which makes it dangerous for Faceless Void to be up here. Even though at this point of the game, he still wants to be up here because you guys haven't cleared off this bottom tower yet. So you've brought 4 heroes to the spot where your hard carry wants to farm. Whereas if you guys come bottom and they all rotate here, there are 4 heroes down here, but that means Faceless is free up here. And so even if you guys get killed down here, it's like, okay, Faceless is at least free farming right now. And that's why usually you rotate away from him. I guess Faceless did have Chrono for this, but then the coordination was really off. And I also don't think it feels good to Chrono an Axe. Like a 3-man rotation plus Chrono to kill an Axe. It doesn't feel very good. I would rather see you guys like, okay, this is probably too high level, to be honest. No offense, but like getting a team to coordinate like this is like really difficult at even high levels. But you two coming bottom and then Void TPing down here, chronoing for a team fight, then you guys take this tower, and then everyone else leaves and Faceless Void stays down here. That would have been what you would see like pros do. But I mean, we are just pub players, you know. We're measly pub players, so so at least just rotating down here and leaving Faceless top, that would have been okay. I think you, if I recall, yeah, you said you had a tough time in lane. So I think your itemization is part of that. I think you would have an easier time with like starting Windlace would have been less greedy, but if you really want to push the limits, I think an Oov could have worked, where you use the Orb of Venom to punish Pudge really early. Like, to be clear, that Orb of Venom is to win the first like 30 seconds. And to win this rune fight is like to immediately start fighting right here. And the Orb of Venom, you want it to pay off within that like first minute when Pudge has no armor and you are establishing the lane in a position that helps you win right off the bat. I would have expected Axe to eventually, like, you guys just don't do a lot to Axe, and he would have eventually gotten his farm. But ideally, Void would have also gotten his farm. If Axe keeps trying to lane here, then I think that is a little tougher. But if Axe just starts cutting, then you just leave Axe. Or you leave Faceless Void up here and you go bottom. You go bottom to start trying to take this tower really quickly. And just because you have more impact down here, like you slow down this Phantom Lancer's game. Like you identified, we're kind of on the clock against this Phantom Lancer. Which, by the way, I saw the itemization. Faceless Void, I think, should have gotten a Mjolnir. That would have made it easier to deal with Phantom Lancer. But even with that, Faceless Void is still a little weak to Phantom Lancer. And so you guys are a bit on the clock against the Storm PL. And so you want to come down here and slow him down more. Extend the time that you guys have to win. And by doing that, you'll also draw Pudge down here. And then Faceless Void will be fine one-on-one versus Axe. Faceless shouldn't die there, as long as he doesn't get like called in a bunch of creeps. But I mean, if you're close to dying, then you just go farm the jungler or something, and then when it gets here, then you come back or whatever. But it shouldn't like surprise you to die. It's kind of 10 minutes into this lane. I'm thinking if we want to continue this. I kind of don't feel like we need to. Stacking, that's good. I see. Okay, this is all I'm gonna say about this. And then we'll move on. Actually, let's watch. Yeah, okay. So you keep coming top, right? So you got this rune, you want to come back top. You stack this camp, and you're coming top again. But I don't think you guys want to be up here. Actually, now that you guys have the bottom tower, it's a little more okay. But I still think your next objective is this mid tower here. And this is hard to explain cleanly in a video like this, but essentially support players need to know when to leave safe lane. And an issue I commonly see with a lot of lower ranks is that they don't know when that point is, and they keep coming top. Carries as well. Carries also keep coming top to lanes, and where they just keep dying. And I mean, it's more prevalent at low levels, but it still happens even in the highest games. Like, I'm sure you guys have watched like BSJ or whoever, and they're like, why does my carry keep going top and dying? You know, people feel like, okay, this is my lane, and I have to be here. But you don't really need to be here. You just start here. And as soon as you can stop, as soon as you can be more effective somewhere else, you go somewhere else. You don't need to be top anymore. And as Ogre in this lane, I think you spend the first like 2 to 3 minutes trying to get Faceless Void ahead or at least even with Axe and like keep Pudge away, distract Axe a bit. Once this guy has a level advantage, I just don't see him ever dying. And then you leave. You're not needed here anymore because you can't really fight Axe as an Ogre. And if Pudge wastes his time up here, who cares? Because he's also not going to kill Faceless Void. And so you leave the two of them up here, you come bottom. Pressure 3 of them versus 2 of them. Pudge is going to come down here because he sees people to kill. And now that's okay because you're letting the carry 1v1 versus Axe and farming. I'm kind of repeating this stuff, but like it is like this is the core of the game, and that's why I'm saying it so many times. And then if you have 3 heroes down here, that's fine for you guys because one of those heroes is PL, and he is not farming well against 2 ranged heroes plus an Ogre bullying him. As long as you guys don't get hooked under tower and feed, you're fine. And you can prevent that by like warding back here or warding here or cutting like all these trees with Wind Ranger's power shot. But essentially, I think you could be way more effective bottom than top, but I see you continuously coming top. And you're like going to the most dangerous part, and you're not a hero that should do that. Ogre is a hero that wants to cause problems, not necessarily address problems. So like Treant Protector is really good at going to a dangerous part of the lane and protecting it. Whereas Ogre, he wants to like run in, slow, stun people. Bloodlust. Unfortunately, the best Bloodlust target is Faceless Void. You don't have an offlane or a carry or a mid who's like very good with it. But either way, Ogre like wants to go and create issues somewhere else away from the carry, where some supports want to be with the carry and deal with pressure. But you keep coming up here trying to deal with pressure, and you're not equipped to do that as an Ogre at this point of the game. I kind of think that's all I want to talk about in this game. I know you said you win it, so I don't really care to see the rest too much, because I think I'd rather look at the lane of another game. Okay, we're going to look at... I think we're going to do 2 games. So we're going to look at the laning of this game, where you said you felt you laned well with AM, but ultimately lost. We won't worry too much about the final loss. Let's just focus on the lane this game. You're starting with the same items. What are you against? Clockwork? And then either Disruptor or Jakiro. You can't really know without getting into the lane. Okay, so I don't think I'm not sure if I said it clearly in the last game. So I'm going to say it here. Where I feel that Ogre is a hero that usually wins his lane via a war of attrition. So because he has such high armor, and because he has very good health regen, again, ignoring what the mangoes add in, and then like you buy a couple tangos or a salve, you hit pretty hard, you have a decent attack animation, and then if you buy like a Windlace or an Orb of Venom, but those aren't necessarily required, but they help, you just hit people. And you bully them out. And you don't really need to use your spells too much because your spells... Well, Ignite's pretty good in terms of damage, but because your mana pool's so small, it feels easier to lane like without really using your spells too much. And last game it worked out really well because both... Well, mainly Pudge. Pudge has no armor, and so that's a very easy fight to win with just your right clicks, and you don't really even need your spells, but the spells will help. Here, it's a little less so the case, because these guys have some armor, and they're ranged, so it's harder for you. But what helps you in this lane is that Jakiro does damage over time, and at level 1, it's not very good. Disruptor does more damage, but it's pretty expensive for him. And health regen is actually cheaper than mana regen. And Ogre is already someone who has natural health regen that's pretty high. And so if you just add on an extra, like maybe you get a third set of tangos in the lane within the first like 30 seconds or something, you actually just out sustain their damage. You have them focus it on you. Don't let yourself die, but make them use it on you and then just heal it up. And then once they're out of mana, then you just focus on right clicking again. We'll see how you use these mangoes. Technically, it's okay because they give you some HP regen. But I feel like 4 is a little bit too many. But we'll see. Let's see how it plays out. Maybe I'm wrong. Your team your draft's fine. I'd be a little careful of walking up this far. Clockwork is a pretty good laner to start. Kind of the same as last game where you can't really approach Axe. Ogre also struggles to approach Clockwork, especially once Clockwork hits level 2 because Battery Assault plus Power Cogs and then either a Jakiro or a Disruptor. It's pretty good. Or I'm sorry, we know it's Disruptor now, but either way. So it's like you want to focus on the 4 support because the offlaner is actually pretty scary for you and it's tough for you. Stand out a little further so that you can see if they're blocking the creeps or not. So that, okay, this is pretty close, but this is okay. But if their creeps walk under your tower, you're going to be in a really bad spot. So you want to stand out a little further. Over here is pretty safe. And it lets you see if they're blocking the creeps or not so that you can tell your AM, okay, stop blocking or keep blocking. And you have an idea. You don't need to stand this close. See how he's getting like free auto attacks off on you? Again, going back to the positioning and everything. He has vision of you from the creeps and his spell. There's like 4 auto attacks for free. I know you have a lot of armor, but that's still a lot of damage to take for nothing. So I'm noticing a lot of like positioning stuff, I guess. Like I noticed it in the last game where like the way you chose to run or something. And now seeing you get auto attacked for free, it's kind of bringing me back to that. Where, let's say you just took all that damage. What do you have to do? You have to buy, or you have to use your tangos and you may have to buy more tangos. So it costs you money to deal with that mistake. Can we deal with that damage without spending money? Yes, by positioning. There's a very similar concept in StarCraft where it was like, okay, I'm getting pressured by these units. Do I have to spend money and build more units early and build extra stuff to help me defend? Or for free, can I position my buildings in a way that help me do the exact same thing I'm currently doing, save all the same amount of money, but now lets me deal with this pressure? In Dota, it's positioning, where instead of taking those 4 free auto attacks, you stand a little bit lower down, and you'd be full health right now. I mean, you would have taken some damage from the spell, but that's good. When you find him around like here, this is actually when you want to cast your spell. Because he's ranged, if you walk to him in the open, like he's just going to back off, right? He's going to get 1 free auto attack off and back off. The way you get close to him is like this. When he like pops out of trees suddenly, or you pop out of the trees suddenly and surprise him and you're right next to him. So right here, this is when you want to slow him and chase him for a little bit until you see Clockwork react, and then you can back off. And you should cut through the trees to lose vision so that they don't freely auto attack you. So like right there, as soon as I see him, I would cast Ignite and then chase him for a little bit and attack. Getting a deny is also pretty good, but AM I think could have done that. I'd probably use a Tango already at this point. Because you don't want to get too low. You want to continue to be aggressive, so you want to let it be full health. Stand next to the range creep, or any of the creeps when this is going off on you. That'll help your lane. That'll help you de-push your lane. You could have pulled here too, by the way. So like, see how you're not doing like anything right now? But you can even go back further. You're just kind of like absorbing damage. Okay, so right all this time right now, you've walked up and now you walk back. Didn't really accomplish much. It's like sort of okay. Getting the spell used on you instead of AM is actually ideal. But at this point, once the spell's cast on you, you don't need to be here. And so if you could do that a little sooner, that'd be great. And then go pull. At 117, that's the very first pull available to you. Great time to pull. You can either pull the full wave or half the wave, depending what camp is here. Harpies, I'd probably still pull half the wave. But it's like you're doing stuff. Whereas right now, I don't feel like this is accomplishing anything. And I get it, because it's like, okay, what do I accomplish right now? Well, pulling. That is what you do when you're against, like, it's difficult to approach Clockwork because he's a very strong hero against other melees. And it's difficult to approach Disruptor because he's ranged. And that's where you want to pull and force them to come to you, and then you pop out of trees or something. Like right now, you don't need to be under here. AM can do this alone. It'd be time to pull. You'd pull this wave right here. Maybe another half pull. Or stack the camp, that would work too. But like doing something. You don't need to be here right now. AM is absolutely fine right here. He will never die in this area against these heroes at level 2. Especially because he's full health. Because you have done a pretty decent job of getting them to focus you instead. That is good. But then go, you know, when there's downtime like there is right now, you don't need to stand here. Go pull. That'll help you get ahead. In fact, that's the reason why I picked this game, because you said you felt like you did well in the lane, and I wanted to see like what we can improve more, but then also when do you leave this lane, because this is a lane I would leave pretty early once I get AM sufficiently ahead by like pulling and stuff like that. And here's another pull I think you could have done. Oh, actually, this might be the same pull because I was paused. Yeah, this 217 pull right here, I think that would be a great use of your time. I don't think this is doing anything right now besides splitting XP with AM. I want AM to get... Once AM hits like probably level 3 to 5, depending how the enemy plays. Probably 5 is safe, where I just don't think he'll die. I don't see how he dies against these heroes. So I would get him to 5, and I think he'll farm okay. He'll have enough items at that point that he can sustain damage. And then I leave. I go top. Imagine you stun into his stun into an arrow. Like, how is that not a kill on any hero? It is. It's so good. And AM will farm perfectly fine, and he won't risk dying to Clockwork because he has Blink. And as long as he has Blink, he can't die. Hey, getting some damage, not bad. Are we on your perspective? Or are we on someone else's? Even right here, I don't feel like AM will die. AM just shouldn't die against these heroes, really. Unless he, The only way he dies is if he tries to blink out and then gets glimpsed back in, because he doesn't have blink at that point. But with this positioning, he should be fine, because glimpse has a very short cast range at level... really level 1, 2, and 3. At 3, it starts to be okay, but the first 2 levels are really, really low. And so, like, right up here, I would just want you to go... I would want you to go pull. I wouldn't use your stun in lane unless, like, you're going for a kill or something. Look at the damage. 60 damage for 75 mana. It's not very cost effective. And the stun, like 1.5 seconds, not bad. But it means you have to be doing something in that stun time, such as hitting them a lot, or your carry is also there hitting them a lot. But just stunning for damage is not a good use of your mana. Ignite is a lot more cost effective for harassing, especially because it's level 2. All this time could be pulling, by the way. All this time you spent standing here. It's very important to identify when you need to be in the lane or not. Against a hero, with a hero like AM and Faceless Void, people who can blink or time walk or are very mobile and have escapes against lineups that don't really do anything to stop that because they don't have... You know, it's not like a Shadow Shaman plus Centaur lane, who it's like double stun and burst. That's really scary. You can't really leave the lane. You have to stay there so that if you see him shackle, you can stun the shackle, stop it, and then your carry will survive. But in this lane, like, they don't really have hard stuns, so your carry should never die. And so when that's the case, you just want to frequently think, can I pull right now? Will it destroy lane equilibrium? No, then I will pull. I will pull as much as I possibly can because my carry just will not die. Stacking, that's fine. And then I want to see a pull with it. Okay, your AM actually pulled the lane into the hard camp. And you're going to pull this. This might be fine, but I actually can't see the lane from your perspective, so we're going to come see. This is the worry, is that they will now farm this hard camp plus and others. But actually, these two are pretty bad at it, so I think what you did was fine. but it can depend on the lane, so try to check. You are in a party, actually, so maybe you talked about it. But if you're not, do get in the habit, even if you are in a party, I guess, get in the habit of looking over and confirming for yourself whether it's good to pull or not. Okay, pause over. Let's see. Okay, bounty rune. You should get this. Stun him. What happened there? Did you get pushed by cogs? Oh, you did. Unfortunate. Yeah, once you get pushed by cogs right here, I might look to run to this rune because I think I'm dead. What does that accomplish for you? If you run this way, because you got pushed back, right? And you were like over here, and you still wanted to try to get this rune before the sun ended, I understand. In some circumstances, that might be okay. But in this case, I mean, it's really a snap decision, so I don't blame you. But I think you should just, okay, I'm already a little bit apart. I'm just going to continue running away and come get this rune. What that accomplishes is getting this rune, and they're probably going to chase you. You know, they're going to follow you over and try to kill you, and they probably will kill you over here. I mean, they killed you here, so why wouldn't they kill you up here? The difference is that, one, you get the rune, whereas here you die and get no rune. So you're going to get a rune, and they're not going to get 2 runes. But second, if you die right here, then they just walk back to lane, and they're here 1v2 against this AM really quickly. But if you drag them all the way up here, grab this rune, they're still chasing you. And because you would have a little extra distance, like right now, you're literally on top of both of them, so they can very quickly kill you. Whereas when you got pushed away, you had some distance between them. So you'll survive longer this way. And even after you get the rune, I think you could like pull them all the way back here, maybe even loop all the way around. The point is, when they eventually kill you, say over here or over here, when they want to come back to lane, they have to run all the way back. By which point, you might have respawned and even teleported back in, because the level 1 deaths are not that long. But the whole time, AM is free farming. No one is in his lane because they're chasing you, killing you, and this is what's called like making space in the lane. He's free farming now, yeah, because they're dealing with you. That's good. They're going to kill you and come back to lane by like 5:15. That's my guess. Whereas if you drag them all the way over, it might be to like 5:45 where they get there. That's like in an entire extra creep wave that he gets for free. And we're always looking to buy that kind of time. So you're kind of like running in the direction of like, oh, this is where they wanted to be. So it's like, oh, we got to play where we wanted to, and we got a kill. It's a little later than I thought, but they're here. Right at like 5:22, they were already back in the lane. Whereas if you had ran the other way, they'd probably still be chasing you right now. Looks like you're buying boots first. I think that's good. Keep away from this guy. You have a ward. So we have an issue. Spectre's level 6 at 6 minutes, and your AM is level 4. That's not your fault, you know, because you're you haven't done anything for the offlane right now. But that is an issue. You're not going to win every game, so we're not going to worry about that. In terms of your laning, I think you could be doing better right now. Where I wouldn't have expected AM to be level 6. I think Spectre's gotten 1 kill and 4 assists, so it's no surprise she's very high level this game. But honestly, as long as AM's getting farm, you still have a timing window to win, even if Spectre's doing really well. But AM could be further ahead. I think he could be at least level 5 right now if you had incorporated more pulls. Or if nothing else, if he was still like level 4, these guys would be lower level, and so relatively he's still stronger. But I think like you're a bit too high level. Like you soaked up a bit too much experience, in my opinion. I think you could have been doing more pulls to get him further ahead, and you'd still be probably level 3 at this point from the experience from these small camps. And I mean, you'd be like just level 3 and not have all this extra XP, but that's totally fine because you're an ogre. You're an ogre 5. Whereas AM would be off to a strong start, and these guys would be a little weaker. That opens up the window for us to just leave this lane. What can we do when we leave this lane? We can go top and start to pressure this Spectre who's doing really well. And frankly, even though she's level 6, once she's used this ult, you can still kill her. With that combo we talked about, stun, stun, arrow, which is the 3rd stun, and you kill the Spectre who's ahead, and that's just going to give you bonus gold. But when the lane is this close, you have a harder time leaving the lane. And you could leave the lane right now, and I think AM should be... He won't die, but he'll struggle to farm a bit because he's not as ahead as he could be. So that's why I think it's really good you identified, like, I want to work on my laning. I think that's great, because if you have a good lane, everything else is easier. There's no situation where having a good lane is bad for you. You always want a good lane, and so that's a great spot to start working on. And one of the things is to pull a lot more. I think this is okay. I think at this point, though, I would already be thinking about switching to pulls. See, AM's like doing the pull. I don't think he should blink. I don't think it was necessary to blink to complete that pull. I think if he just cuts that tree and walks, it'd be fine, and then he would save his blink. The reason I'm being nitpicky on that is because the only way this AM dies is if he doesn't have blink. As long as blink is up, and disruptor isn't like, because you're gonna blink back. Really, you just need to blink away from the disruptor, and ideally it's back here. So the only way you die is if like disruptor can glimpse you back after you blink. And if disruptor's over here because it's low cast range and you blink back, that's fine. If disruptor's here and you blink back, that's where there could be an issue, because then the short range is like right there. But in those cases, like you can blink into the trees and then walk out, stuff like that. But at this point, AM is like okay in this lane alone, and could be further, but like still he's okay here, and I think you should just leave. All right, you just keep like standing here and not doing too much. It's all pull time. Pull, pull, pull. This could be a pull. Small can't pull. You're not gonna kill Clockwork really. You don't add a lot of damage, and AM doesn't do a lot of damage if they don't have full mana. So getting this kill, Ogre's not really. He can be with certain heroes like an Ursa, because you slow and stun and possibly provide Bloodlust. But with a hero like AM or Spectre, Ogre's job is just to get them off to a good start and get them to a point where they can be left alone. Either leave them in the lane or they can go to the jungle. And then as an Ogre, you leave and you go to the off lane and you help pressure the off lane. Or I'm sorry, you help pressure the enemy's safe lane with your off laners. That's kind of what Ogre wants to do. He doesn't want to just like sit around and absorb farm. A hero that can do this is like Shadow Shaman, because getting levels on Shadow Shaman is really good and important, because you want to hit your ult as quickly as you can and start pressuring towers. But when you hit your ult, it really doesn't do anything. It's nothing spectacular as a position 5 Ogre. So you don't want to be sapping too much XP. It's fine to be a little under-leveled as an Ogre, because your levels just aren't as important as, say, a Disruptor. Disruptor really needs level, because his ultimate's really good. I don't know if you need to blink out there, actually. I think you guys might have been able to kill the Clockwork if you had stayed a little longer. But either way, you guys survive. Oh, do you survive? Yeah. You should salve him. Like, you could continue playing aggressive if you had salved him sooner. Make sure you use this. This is for the carry, really. You either use it on the carry, where it's literally for them, or in some cases, you use it on yourself so that you can be full health and continue to lane and to help make the carry's life easier. Either way, you are using a salve to help your carry continue to lane. So this is like perfect example of where it's like, okay, I should have used it on him. Even though he has the Ring of Health, like you saw, you had to back away from the Disruptor, and he also had to like sit in the back for a while and not farm. All of that can be avoided by using the salve. Let's take a look at. I always forget. I even said earlier that I would try to keep these up more. So yeah, your lane's not too bad with AM. I think AM could be further, but like you did kind of win it. Issue is Spectre's pretty ahead, and that's not strictly your fault because she got ahead before you would have rotated over. But at this point, you could already be in the off lane, making her life more difficult, which would help AM catch up, because you'd probably end up dragging the Disruptor top too. If you have 3 people top, Disruptor will probably go up there too. And then AM versus Clockwork is free farm. But Spectre is not going to free farm in the 3v3. You see that trend? Like, that is the ideal. You want your carry in a free farm situation and the enemy not in a free farm situation. That's why, as a hard support, one of the easiest things to do that... well, it's not that easy. Conceptually, it's easy, but, like, doing it's harder. But it's like, get your carry to a point where they are capable of being on their own, and then you rotate first. You walk top so that you can teleport back if needed, but you walk top and you start that first. Because the enemies are trying to do the same thing, where they get their carry to a time where they can be alone, and then they come pressure your carry. But it's a matter of who can do it first. Some lineups are naturally meant to go one way or the other, but in this case, I think it could have gone either way. And in fact, Zquixotix has a harder time leaving Spectre. It's easier to leave AM alone than it is to leave a Spectre alone. Because AM is faster in the jungle at an early level due to his really good attack speed and his mana burn. And because he has the blink, he's very safe in the lane. And the spell shield. Whereas Spectre is just like a slower jungle farmer to start, and she's like not as safe in the lane. See, this whole time, you don't need to be here. You're like bullying him out, but let's say Clockwork was up here. Is he going to change anything? AM's still going to farm. In fact, AM should just hit Clockwork and bully Clockwork out. Because if Clockwork has no mana, he does nothing in the lane. So, I think that's where we're going to stop. I think this itemization makes way more sense to me to get boots first. Looks like you're going Glimmer next. Actually, what's on your courier? So I don't mind the Glimmer this game. I think a 4-staff is a little better against a Clockwork first. I think a 4-staff is especially good on Ogre because you need the mana pool. And the active is very good to deal with Clockwork Cogs, where your team's kind of okay against Cogs, actually, because he has stun, she has leap, and he has a blink. DP is the only one who might struggle with Cogs, and she doesn't really like to get a 4-staff. And kind of for that reason alone, but also their spells might be on cooldown, I think a 4-staff first would be really good. Even though it loses a bit of value against, like, Disruptor, I think having 4-staff to deal with the Cogs is pretty important, because Disruptor won't always be there to glimpse you back after 4-staffing. But Glimmer would be a very close second option because they are heavily magical damage. So I do really like a Glimmer. So in the end, Glimmer or 4-staff first item would be fine. The only downside to Glimmer first is because your mana pool is so small, and Glimmer adds another mana cost to your already small mana pool and 3 spells that are fairly cheap, but considering your small mana pool ends up being like moderate. That's pretty much why I would have gotten 4-staff first. I would have gone Brown Boots 4-staff, or if you want Glimmer, I might have gone like Arcanes into Glimmer. That way you increase your mana pool, and Arcane Boots are pretty good for your team this game because he's going to look to burn everyone's mana AoE style, and Clockwork can as well burn your mana a bit. So having someone get Arcane Boots is quite nice. Although I guess he has Arcane Boots. I wouldn't mind too. What? Ags first. What is this? We're not here for DP, so it's okay. But yeah, that's kind of all I want to identify from this. I do want you to focus on your laning, because as at a legend level, if you get a game where you're in the lead, at legend, people should be good enough to just go from there, where it's like, hey, we have the advantage, we'll just finish it up. Like, that won't always be the case, but it's more so the case than, like, say, Guardian level, where people get the advantage and then they just totally throw it away. It'll still happen at legend, but not as much. And so really focus on the laning, get a good start, and you'll find you'll win a lot of games that way, just because, like, we got ahead and we won. Crazy. Ogre's a good hero to do that because you're a strong bully, but I don't think this Mango build is really the way to do it, because I think, I don't know, to me, Ogre is like, he wins the lane with his body, where he's just like taking the damage and healing it up, and it's not so much about spell casting like a Disruptor or a Lich who's cast a lot. We have a video just recently released about using spells in lane, where they have more cost-effective spells, and that's why they can bully it out, and Ogre can't really do that. But Ogre's natural regen and good attack, that is how he wins the lane. So I recommend trying out an item build that lets you do that. Either one that just lets you absorb a lot of damage or lets you right-click better. And then combine that with trying to pull a lot more. Try to always do a half pull at 117, for example. That's not always true. Like, you don't always want to do that. But if you make yourself do that for a bit, it's generally good, and it'll get you in the mindset of, like, I always want to pull. Like, I'm always looking for it. And the 117 pull, doing a half pull there is pretty safe. And then once you get your carry in the lead, try to identify it every game. It depends. So, like, if you had someone like Sven, you can't leave the lane too quickly with Sven because Clockwork and Disruptor can kill him because Sven has no escape. But if you get Sven to, like, level 5 and he's maxing cleave, Sven can just go to the jungle and you guys just ditch the bottom lane, for example. Or maybe the 4 support can handle the bottom lane alone. That would work. But work on identifying when can I leave my carry alone. Like, I agree. Your first game, you got, like, the Void to a good start. And in this game, I think you got AM to a decent start. But then just leave. You're not needed anymore. You did your job. You got them in the lead. Identify that they can't die, and now go do something else. Go do something more productive. All of that usually happens before the 10-minute mark. And I think that's helpful because trying to make, like, minute 30, 40 decisions, that's tougher. But if you can just focus on those first 10 minutes and get those to be pretty clean, at least relative to your level, very easy to win from there. So I hope that helped. Let me know any questions. Thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye.